a sinner who's probably gonna sin again.
In today's society, it is prevalent that the young generation is prone to make careless decisions that can affect their lives in the long run. The youth can easily get their hands on vapes and e-cigarettes instead of focusing on their education and their future. At ages as young as 10, children develop overwhelming addictions to the seemingly hidden nicotine lurking in e-cigarettes. Nicotine increases the risk of high blood pressure and diabetes that lead to sudden or early deaths. Society and legal guardians do not do their part effectively to keep these devices out of the hands of children. Vapes are readily available for purchase not only in every gas station, but on the internet as well. Age restrictions do not achieve their goal nearly well enough to aid in the hindrance of addiction. After years of nicotine, one can experience the wrath of various cancers, genetic mutation, and extreme addiction.
I strongly believe an easily attainable solution is out simply in front of the eyes of the public. The obvious fix to long-term nicotine addiction is to convince the engagement of today's youth in more hardcore drugs by public distribution at reasonable prices. Drugs such as opioids, hallucinogens, and intense prescription should become not only legal, but readily attainable, lowly priced, and more attractive to the younger population. The profound amounts of benefits to this solution greatly outweigh the negatives 8 to 1, and this is merely the only rational solution that makes any sort of sense. An addiction to more intense drugs gets kids off of the jewel and rather leads to more useful organs for organ transplants, population control, more confident emotion, and physiological positives.
To start off, addiction to more hardcore drugs can lead those that died to donate their still functioning organs to those in need. 14 or well over 1,000 people in 2016 that had donated an organ for further use died from an extreme drug overdose prior to donation. The more people that lay off of nicotine and begin the use of opioids, for example, will die at a faster rate and contribute their organs to the dying that live healthy lifestyles. It would be reasonable to say surgical organ transplants are successful 99.9% of the time, and those that survive from these surgeries are more beneficial to society than those under the influence of intense drug use. These drugs can be used to kill off individuals that will provide organs.
Additionally, the opioid crisis murdered over 65,000 people in 2016, and this in turn weans out the weak and idiotic of the population. Nicotine, on the other hand, has only murdered 64,999 people in 2016, therefore not nearly reaching the population control benefits of opioids and other hardcore drugs. According to Thomas Malthus, population grows exponentially, while food production grows arithmetically. Eventually, the world will never have enough food to supply its growing society. Ultimately, stupidity is a disease. The killings of those who do not grasp the effects of hardcore drugs will be killed off by natural selection, and therefore, leaving enough food behind for those that are healthy. Nicotine does not kill nearly enough to hinder the extreme growth of the world's population. Administering opioids in the citizens of the world more readily will effectively lower the amount of people around the globe.
While on hardcore drugs, increased amounts of dopamine are released into your system in ways that nicotine could never compare. Dopamine is a compound present in the body that is a neurotransmitter and a precursor of other substances including epinephrine, also known as adrenaline. Intense drugs can take away pain, stress, and depression from your life, so you live a more euphoric lifestyle, much like ecstasy. Quoted from a famous American anonymous to very reliable Quora, the most common effects my friend and I experienced were a deep sense of contentness. You are completely happy to do what you're doing because it's so pleasant and interesting. It makes sitting in the woods, staring at trees into the equivalent of taking a relaxing warm bath while having a riveting conversation. The positive feeling one experiences while on more hardcore drugs is on that, in my opinion, is more exciting than a detrimental addiction to nicotine. Jewels simply do not give enough positive feelings throughout the body to be regarded euphoric, as more intense drug use will. Why waste your time getting a bit buzzed off at most 6 nicks when you can hallucinate the best things in your life as they seem to appear right before your eyes?
Lastly, the various physiological benefits of allowing extended distribution of more serious drugs are quite inspiring. Nicotine simply holds the young generation back, while these other drugs can propel the youth into a more constructive direction, with their outweighing positives. Drugs such as steroids can enhance not only physical performance, but muscle mass in general.
Hang on. Look at this guy before steroids. It's ridiculous. Do you want to be like this guy?
Testosterone increase in the body can grow muscle size by a foot, a whole 12 inches. Now that's impressive. Adderall can aid children with ADD and ADHD to gain focus as the drug stimulates ametaphine that clears fluster and leads to a more positive attitude. Adderall, according to a celebrity critic, can give you a wider vocabulary and more forward-thinking mindset. Allowing these intense medications to be distributed at low prices to people at all ages increases not only performance but peace of mind as well. Serious painkillers such as Percocet,
Oxycontin,
morphine, and Xanax can relax the body in ways nicotine wishes it could. People on Percocet are 90% happier than those who merely vape 4 pods a day, slowly weaning the younger generation off a terrible nicotine addiction.
What is nicotine?
Nicotine is actually an alkaloid that's found in nightshade as well as the tobacco plant. It can increase certain trigger hormones in the brain.
Why is nicotine highly addictive?
Nicotine is highly addictive because nicotine is a stimulant that can trigger pleasure receptors such as epinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin.
Thinking about it, that stuff sounds really serious. Why would you want to do that to yourself when you can engage in different things like snorting cocaine?
And rather feeding them these serious drugs, they can transport to Fantasyland and give them possibilities they've never ever dreamed of.
It is argued that hardcore drugs cause addiction as well, but the lasting benefits of these more intense sources of happiness not only inspire those in society, but the bodies left behind deem extremely useful. As quoted by Albert Einstein, only the stupid waste their time with mere nicotine. Some have attempted to challenge the assertion that vaping can be eliminated with the introduction of easily attainable hardcore drugs in society. They have not only failed, but have tried to undermine the authority of our godly power. Some objections may include therapeutic services and useless nicotine patches. Therapists are corrupt and only work to steal money from the vulnerable addicts in need of real help. According to the notorious street beggars, the average therapist makes over 7 figures and uses the weak of society to build their empire of medicine. Physiological therapy plays with the mind to find each individual weakness and exploit it as a method to generate income. It is also sad to imagine our society using pathetic, magic stickers to cure detrimental nicotine addictions as if it's some sort of child's game. Nicotine patches are only effective 0.00001% of the time, while at least 89% of people injecting heroin experience a sense of euphoria. What these suffering, poor, and innocent young individuals hooked on nicotine really need to prosper in our society is easy access to more serious drugs that give lasting positives, not only to the individual, but to society itself.
Ultimately, there is no other fix to vaping amongst the underage, but helping these children take the more intense drugs instead. With the use of more powerful drugs, more organs will be left behind for the healthy population after the opioid influence die. Also, the size of our society will be regulated and lowered to leave behind food for those in need. The children will not only be overall happier, but will also experience serious physical benefits beyond simple conception. Stand with us. Now is the time to make a change.
I don't like it. I love it, love it, love it. Uh-oh. So good it hurts. I don't want it. I gotta have it. Uh-oh. When I can't find the words, I just go.